Hello students, welcome to the studio of NIOS. I am Dr. V. Suprabha, Principal, Vidya School. Today we will be learning about the approaches and methods adopted by the social scientists in political science. So let's see what are the different approaches. The approaches have been divided into two different time zones. One is the traditional and one is the modern. As you can understand, traditional comes from many years ago when thinkers started talking about political science. Now, the traditional approach has contributions of Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, and the likes. And this approach comes from the beginning of the 19th century. The next set is the modern approaches. As the term suggests, it is something which began around 15th to 16th centuries and it became very dominant in the 20th century. This was the era where political science was being understood. As in the traditional approach, it was more about the fixed forms of the society, while in the modern approach, the understanding altered. Now, let's see what's the difference between the traditional and modern society. When you see this, you will not find many differences, yet they differ. In the traditional society or the traditional approach, political science as a study, it was more of a study of the different governmental institutions, while the modern approach to political science, it is a study of the power and the decision making of political behavior. So, you can see that in the traditional society, traditional approach, the government was being understood as an institution, while in modern approach, it is being observed and studied and decision making is done. In the traditional approach, there was more concentration on formal apparatus or formal forms of the government and the different institutions of the government. That was the formative times when the government was being formed. While in the modern times, it is the politics, which is an activity and as a process. There is a big difference between the two. Presently, all these government institutions are already formed and hence we are now working over it, whatever has already been formed. Now, the traditional approach defines political science as subjective, theoretical. So, there is a lot of theory. The basics were being written, what political science is, how it should be. It is here imperative also to see that traditionally it was more of a study, while in the modern times it is more of a science. So, political study and political science, if we say that way, will also apply to it. Presently, it is more objective in nature, there is more scientific, it is more process oriented rather than purpose oriented. There is philosophies which are now being analyzed. The philosophies were written by the likes of Socrates and Plato and Aristotle, which are now being analyzed. The traditional and modern approaches also are different in the way we can observe it. The traditional approach is more non-observable. There is a lot of value, how the society should be, what should be the case, how people should be. That is the way the traditional approach was looked at, while the modern scenario is entirely different. So, the traditional approach is more prescriptive, normative. When I say normative, it means there are certain norms which have to be followed, while the modern is more quantitative and it is more inductive in nature. The traditional approach actually aimed at achieving a good society, a society which has certain rules and regulations, certain values, certain ethics that are needed to be followed by everyone. While the modern approach, there is more scientific body of knowledge. We can question, we can ask, we can find out what it is, how the behavior is, what are the factors that are involved, and the different events that happen are also taken into care. While in traditional societies, those were not taken into account, and the social change was controlled, which presently is not so much controlled. Now, what do we need to remember is that the difference between the traditional approach and the modern approach are always not absolute, because this is a continuation. It is not that they are two different watertight compartments. One flows into the other. There are many the issues of the traditional approach which are still in the present modern approach as useful as it was then. There is always an interaction between the two categories, and these are legal institutional approaches which are important in the traditional approach, while behavioral approach and psychological approach is important in the modern approach. With the changing society, changing thoughts of human beings, the changes come in the way we approach political science. Now, let us see what is the philosophical approach, which is part of the traditional approach. Now, the philosophical approach, as you can see, is norm based. When I say norm based, there are certain norms, there are certain structures which needs to be followed, and it is concerned only with the conclusions which were reached with little or no observation. That means whatever the political thinkers thought was right was accepted without putting them to test. It is all based on the nature of information or knowledge which is already available. The state of affairs, the way it was, is being followed in the philosophical approach. The concepts of justice, law, liberty, democracy, etc. were classified thinking process of deductive reasoning. So, they deduced from certain things which happened, and that was what it was. So, there was no space for any scientific experimentation to bring it forth. In the philosophical approach, what is the demerit? It is not verifiable because you do not have any evidence. There is no conclusive evidence that we have. All that is based on the form of government, how the people behaved, how the policies were in that period, and nothing new can be added into it. And human nature was always taken for granted. In those days, they did not think that mind could think differently as well. And if somebody thought differently from the norms, they were branded. So, philosophical approach was straitjacketed. Locke, Aristotle, Chanakya, Plato and others all advocated this approach. The second one is the legal institutional or the constitutional approach. This is a predominant approach of the contemporary politics. Even today, this is something which is practiced because legal institutional approach is very essential and as applicable today. But the roots of this approach goes back to Aristotle's times. It focuses on formal apparatus of politics or the government and the different institutions of the government. Though this is also based on description and analysis of the legal rules, the conventions which were governing the operations of the government, the relationship between the formal institutions which include the government, the legislative, the courts, the legal procedures, and it is readily accessible because there are official records to it. It has all been recorded. The demerits of this approach is that it is being criticized as static or lifeless. It stresses on the character of the government as one fixed, and it neglects the fact that politics is an activity, that is, it keeps changing, it is alive. So, this approach forgets that there is life in politics as well. And it also fails to look at the underdeveloped and the backward communities. It's just looking at one set of community, and the rules and all the formal institutions are based and formed on that one entity. There's one more demerit of this, and that is there is no international politics. It's all about one state. The relationship that one state shares with the neighbors or with other countries is not taken into account, or is very minimalistic. Because international politics mostly lacks formal institutions and is more characterized by violence. Now let's see what is the behavioral approach. This is the modern approach. This came into force somewhere around the 40s, and till today it's very dominant in the field of political science. It looks at the behavior of the individuals, and we know that the behavior of individuals vary from time to time and space to space and society to society. The same behavior will not be found in one place and the same in the other. There is always a difference, and it's always the small groups. Like we say, for every 100 meters, there is a change in the way that people speak the same language, and that's what's called as a dialect. Hence, the behavior of the people also alters in a very, very short span of distance. So, behavioral approach takes that into account. And so, it's relatively small group, and it's a small group which is the basis of analysis. So, behavioral approach is also based on analysis. This is a movement which insists on analyzing the observable behavior, while in traditional approach we saw that whatever was observed was believed, while in the behavioral approach whatever is observed is again analyzed, and then it summarizes the political behavior on the basis of the empirically verified data. But there are demerits to this as well, because human behavior is not subject to experimental inquiry, and generalization is very difficult. Like I said, human behavior keeps altering, and it's only the mathematical equations that can give it accuracy, and more mathematical equations are being discovered. Also, in behavioral approach, we can only analyze what is the overt behavior or the outside behavior, while people may have some other thoughts inside and speak something else on the outside. And that's where the traditional approach came in. It's very difficult to study the external or covert behavior, which is internal behavior, which also contributes, because people say something and then do something else. The next modern approach is the psychological approach. We all know that now the scientists have been studying psychology to understand the behavior of the human being. This approach became dominant in the present times with Graham Wallas's Human Nature in Politics, which came out in 1908. In this publication, he laid emphasis on the socio-psychological foundations of the political science. The political phenomenon is defined in terms of psychological forces that form the structure of the politics. Human beings have different psychologies, and it believes that the man's actions in politics are not actually guided only by reasons and rationality. There are times when men behave irrationally as well, and there are times when things beyond reasons do work. So, the political behavior is given by psychological factors like the personality, the attitude, the motivation, etc. The response given by a human being at one point in time will vary due to the moods, due to their motivation level, or at that time whatever is happening in their lives and circumstances, while at other times it may alter, it may vary. Now let's see what is the demerit, and that's what becomes the demerit of it, because it's difficult to study the personality. As many human beings, so many personalities. And the political participation of the human beings vary based on what's happening and what is important to them. It may vary with time. So, psychology is not an absolute empirical science as of now. Yet, the modern approach gives a lot of space for study, analysis, research, finding out. There's a lot of in-depth knowledge that is available, and that can be compared with what is already existing, what was already present. Now, there are other popular approaches also to political science. One is, of course, the comparative approach, where we can compare what's happening presently, bring what was happening in the past and put it now. There is a system analysis approach where we analyze the entire system. The structural and functional analysis approach. As the name suggests, the entire structure and function of the different agencies of the government, of politics can be analyzed. And of course, the Marxian approach. All these approaches study and clarify the political behavior and the political phenomenon. Thank you.
पच्चीस साल का लंबा सफर और लाखों लोगों के चेहरों पर खिलती मुस्कान, गर्व और गरिमा से जीने की प्रेरणा देती मुस्कान, आत्मसम्मान और विश्वास से पैदा हुई मुस्कान। इन खिलते चेहरों पर ये मुस्कान आई है शिक्षा के जरिए। ये मुस्कान आई है नेशनल इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ ओपन स्कूलिंग यानी NIOS के जरिए। नेशनल इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ ओपन स्कूलिंग या राष्ट्रीय मुक्त विद्यालयी शिक्षा संस्थान, इस संस्थान का एक बड़ा उद्देश्य है आम आदमियों के जीवन को बेहतर बनाना। ऐसे लोग जिनके लिए शिक्षा एक दूर का सपना है, या वे बच्चे जो परिवार की रोजी रोटी कमाने के लिए बीच में ही स्कूल छोड़ने पर मजबूर हो जाते हैं। NIOS ऐसे बच्चों और बड़ों को दोबारा शिक्षा से जुड़ने का मौका मुहैया कराता है ताकि वे एक बेहतर जीवन जी सकें। 1989 में स्थापना के बाद NIOS ने देश के लाखों बच्चों और वयस्कों को बेहतर शिक्षा से जोड़ा है। इनमें हर उम्र, हर पृष्ठभूमि, हर जाति, हर मजहब और हर क्षेत्र के लड़के लड़कियां, महिलाएं और पुरुष शामिल हैं। बढ़ई से लेकर पायलट, डॉक्टर, इंजीनियर, बेकर और दर्जी तक NIOS कोशिश कर रहा है सबको शिक्षित और सशक्त बनाने की, चाहे वो असम के दूर दराज इलाके में रहने वाला हो या फिर मुंबई जैसे महानगर का। NIOS ने अपनी मौजूदगी हर जगह दर्ज कराई है। NIOS ने शिक्षा की परंपरागत सोच को ही बदल दिया है। वो पढ़िए जो हम पढ़ाते हैं की जगह NIOS की नई सोच है, हम वो पढ़ाते हैं जो आप पढ़ना चाहते हैं। इस नई सोच ने लोगों को आगे बढ़ने और NIOS के साथ जुड़ने के लिए प्रोत्साहित किया है। शिक्षा उपलब्ध कराने के मामले में NIOS किसी सीमा को नहीं मानता, उम्र की सीमा को भी नहीं। चंडीगढ़ के गणेश के लिए भी NIOS एक वरदान साबित हुआ। NIOS शारीरिक रूप से अक्षम बच्चों को भी बेहतर शिक्षा मुहैया कराने के लिए पूरी तरह प्रतिबद्ध है। ऐसे बच्चों के लिए शिक्षा न केवल रोजगार के द्वार खोलती है, बल्कि उन्हें आत्मविश्वास और गर्व के साथ जीना भी सिखाती है। NIOS खेल के इन सितारों को उनकी सुविधा और समय के अनुसार बेहतर शिक्षा उपलब्ध कराता है। मेरी कॉम, सोमदेव देववर्मन, देविका रेबेका पल्लिकल, अरमान इब्राहिम, प्रद्युमन प्रकाश और अमय जोत सिंह। NIOS सीमा पर खड़े उन प्रहरियों को भी शिक्षा से लाभान्वित करता है जो देश की सुरक्षा के लिए अपनी जान की बाजी लगाने से भी नहीं चूकते। सच तो ये है कि NIOS की पहुंच हर ओर रहती है, चाहे वो दूर दराज के आदिवासी हो या जेल की कोठरी में बंद कैदी या फिर ग्रामीण और शहरी क्षेत्रों के गरीब निवासी। देश में कहीं भी कोई भी व्यक्ति, स्त्री, पुरुष, लड़का, लड़की, अमीर, गरीब शिक्षा से वंचित न रहे। राष्ट्रीय मुक्त विद्यालयी शिक्षा संस्थान का यही मिशन है।
राष्ट्रीय मुक्त विद्यालय शिक्षा संस्थान पूरे देश में शिक्षा के साथ साथ कौशल विकास के क्षेत्र में बहुत सारे कोर्सेज दे रहा है। लगभग 100 से ज़्यादा कोर्सेज हैं। हम दूर दराज के गांव में अपने संस्थान बनाते हैं और वहाँ के बच्चों को, वहाँ के बच्चियों को, वहाँ के वयस्कों को हुनर के क्षेत्र में शिक्षा पहुँचाते हैं। आपको जानकर खुशी होगी कि अब हम आर्ट, साइंस, कॉमर्स जिन क्षेत्रों में 12वीं का सर्टिफिकेट दिया जाता रहा है, अब हम हुनर के क्षेत्र में, वोकेशनल एरिया में भी 10वीं और 12वीं का सर्टिफिकेशन करेंगे। तो वो बच्चे जो कृषि से जुड़े हुए हैं, कारपेंट्री से जुड़े हुए हैं या दूसरे क्षेत्रों से जुड़े हुए हैं, वो अपने ही क्षेत्र में काम करेंगे, सीखेंगे, हुनर पैदा करेंगे अपने में और सर्टिफाइड भी होंगे कि वो सर्टिफाइड कृषक हैं, खेतिहर हैं। तो आज तक जो हमारे देश में ये सोच रही है कि आप 12वीं पास तभी कहे जाएंगे जब भूगोल, अर्थशास्त्र, भौतिकी ये पढ़ेंगे, अब ये समय बदल गया है। ITI में जितने बच्चे पढ़ते हैं, लगभग 18 लाख बच्चे हर साल दाखिला लेते हैं। अब हम उनको सर्टिफिकेशन करेंगे।
NIOS अपने छात्रों को माध्यमिक स्तर पर 26 और उच्च माध्यमिक स्तर पर 19 विषयों का विकल्प देता है। पढ़ाई किस माध्यम से करनी है, इसमें भी आपको लचीलापन मिलेगा। माध्यमिक स्तर पर ही 7 भाषाओं के अलग अलग माध्यमों का विकल्प मौजूद है। शैक्षणिक कार्यक्रमों के अलावा 86 वोकेशनल शिक्षा कार्यक्रम भी उपलब्ध हैं, जो छात्रों को कामकाजी दुनिया के लिए तैयार करते हैं। वोकेशनल प्रशिक्षण को अधिक सुदृढ़ बनाने के लिए NIOS ने ITDC, सिस्को, इंडियन मेडिकल एसोसिएशन जैसे कई सरकारी और गैर सरकारी संस्थानों के साथ भागीदारी स्थापित की है। आज लाखों छात्रों के लिए अपनी पसंद का स्कूल है राष्ट्रीय मुक्त विद्यालयी शिक्षा संस्थान यानी नेशनल इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ ओपन स्कूलिंग। NIOS ने एक लंबा सफर तय किया है, लेकिन मंजिल अभी दूर है। निरंतर विकास और नवीनीकरण के लिए NIOS सदैव प्रतिबद्ध है। शिक्षा का उद्देश्य महज रोजगार जुटाना ही नहीं है, बल्कि स्वयं को सशक्त बनाना भी है। NIOS लाखों छात्रों के लिए यही आत्मसम्मान दिलाने में जुटा है। लाखों लोगों के लिए एक आशा और उम्मीद है। नेशनल इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ ओपन स्कूलिंग। शिक्षा सबके लिए, कहीं भी, कभी भी।
प्रकाशित करने, राहों को आलोकित करने, हम अपना दीपक स्वयं बने, हम अपना रास्ता स्वयं चुने। हम अपना दीपक स्वयं बने, हम अपना रास्ता स्वयं चुने। जीवन ये प्रकाशित करने, राहों को आलोकित करने। कभी पढ़े हम कहीं पढ़े, वे विषय की लोच से युक्त हो।
कभी पढ़े हम कहीं पढ़े, वे विषय की लोच से युक्त हो।
मित्रों हम उठे और जागे,
मंजिल आने की ध्वनि सुने हम, अपना दीपक स्वयं बने हम, अपना रास्ता स्वयं चुने।
जीवन ये प्रकाशित करने, राहों को आलोकित करने।
राष्ट्रीय मुक्त विद्यालय का है द्वार खुला सबकी खातिर।
शिक्षा परीक्षा का अवसर एक बार ही क्यों मिलता फिर।
शिक्षा और परीक्षा का अवसर एक बार ही क्यों मिलता फिर। दुनिया में इसके केंद्र बहुत,
कोई मन चाहा केंद्र चुने हम, अपना दीपक स्वयं बने हम, अपना रास्ता स्वयं चुने। कोई मन चाहा केंद्र चुने हम, स्वयं बने हम,
घर बैठे पाएं राष्ट्रीय मुक्त विद्यालय शिक्षा संस्थान यानी NIOS में एडमिशन, वो भी एकदम आसान तरीके से, जिससे शिक्षार्थियों को होगी समय और धन दोनों की बचत। NIOS से शिक्षा कभी भी कहीं भी। शिक्षार्थियों, क्या आप जानते हैं NIOS में एडमिशन लेने का सरल और सुगम तरीका, जिससे शिक्षार्थियों को ऑनलाइन प्रवेश लेने में सहूलियत मिलती है। NIOS में प्रवेश की प्रक्रिया पूर्णतया ऑनलाइन है। शिक्षार्थी घर बैठे इंटरनेट द्वारा प्रवेश के लिए सबसे पहले NIOS की वेबसाइट www.nios.ac.in पर लॉगिन करें। अपना ईमेल आईडी और पासवर्ड डालकर अपना पंजीकरण करें। पंजीकरण के बाद लॉगिन करने पर ऑनलाइन प्रवेश हेतु आवेदन पत्र खुलेगा। आवेदन पत्र को निर्देशानुसार भरें और प्रिंट आउट लें। इस प्रिंट आउट पर अपनी फोटो संलग्न करें। ऑनलाइन प्रवेश के लिए शुल्क हेतु भुगतान के तरीके हैं: क्रेडिट कार्ड के द्वारा, डेबिट कार्ड के द्वारा, राष्ट्रीयकृत बैंक के ड्राफ्ट के माध्यम से, जो कि सचिव NIOS नई दिल्ली या नोएडा के पक्ष में देय हो। भरे हुए आवेदन पत्र के साथ साथ डिमांड ड्राफ्ट और संलग्न किए जाने वाले दस्तावेज हैं: जन्म रजिस्ट्रार के जिला कार्यालय से जारी जन्म प्रमाण पत्र की सत्यापित प्रति, जिसमें जन्म तिथि अंकित हो, पिछले विद्यालय से प्राप्त विद्यालय छोड़ने का प्रमाण पत्र, जिसमें आवेदक की जन्म तिथि लिखी हो। प्रवेश फॉर्म का प्रिंट आउट NIOS के संबद्ध क्षेत्रीय केंद्रों पर 10 दिनों में पहुंच जाना चाहिए, अन्यथा उचित दस्तावेज न लगे होने पर आवेदन फॉर्म रद्द किया जा सकता है। प्रवेश प्रक्रिया की पुष्टि होने के बाद शिक्षार्थियों को परिचय पत्र व अध्ययन सामग्री डाक द्वारा तुरंत पहुंचाई जाती है। ऑनलाइन प्रवेश एक बहुत ही सुगम और सुविधाजनक प्रवेश प्रणाली है। Online on time for safe and secure admission.